The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us on another edition of the Mangano Family Foundation Doing Good radio show. This is such a wonderful program where we bring on guests and highlight all the good that's going on in our local community. We're here with Sal Mangano, who's the head of the Family Foundation and also Mangano Family Funeral Homes. We also have two special guests here today. We have Babylon Town Clerk Gerry Compitello and Tia Fulford, the founder and executive director of the Butterfly Effect Project. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for joining us.
So we're going to start off with Gerry, who's town clerk in Babylon. So you began your public service in 2005. You served as supervisor, Rich Schaefer's deputy chief of staff. I know you were very engaged and involved in the local community during Superstorm Sandy and the recovery thereafter. You're very active in the local community, you know, with the United Way, the UGMA program, Babylon Breast Cancer Coalition, and the Alzheimer's Foundation. You've just done a tremendous amount of work. You were elected first in November 2017, correct, again in 2021, and you sworn in January 2nd, 2018. So talk to us a little bit. I know you're a lifelong Amityville resident, town of Babylon resident. What made you get involved in government and ultimately enter the world of politics?
So I am a lifelong Amityville resident. Actually, I live in the house that I grew up in. I'm finding that to not be uncommon, right?
Correct.
I grew up in a family that was very service oriented. Growing up, we were always involved in helping the community. There used to be a motel on 110 that we would make dinners and serve them. This is how I grew up. I went to St. Martin of Tours. My whole family, my mother, father, my sisters are teachers. One of those families, we always felt the need to give back to the community because that's who we are. But when I decided to get into government, I guess my daughter was about 2.5 years old, and I started in the clerk's office. Wow. I worked with Janice Tinsley, James, for a while. I learned an immense amount from her. And it was such a good experience working with her and for her. And I learned the compassionate end of government from her, from people like Rich Schaefer, and then I went to the IDA. I worked for the IDA for a while. One of my first projects there was Wine Dance Rising, which is still an ongoing project. So little by little, you pick up all these little things throughout your life, and then you find where you need to sit, and being the clerk was
before you
perfect opportunity.
Got into government.
Yes.
You worked in
No,
fashion.
I did. I worked in the fashion industry for 20-something years for various designers under the LVMH
You're only like
umbrella.
30 years old. I'm not sure how this is possible.
Well, thank you very much. I started very young.
Fuzzy math here. I don't know.
Yeah, I worked for various designers, Gianni Versace, Boucheron, Ermenegildo Zegna, and I just always had a love for clothes and all of that. So my degree is in music education, which just gave me that creative end. But yeah, it was pretty fascinating. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's what's great, about your experience is being able to come from, that business world and understanding kind of like what business owners go through and what the community goes through. And you're not just always, kind of one track in government your whole life and really getting that real world experience.
Absolutely. And you can do more than one thing in your life. It's like, you want a taco, you want soft and hard, you could have both. You could do more than one thing in your life. But they all amount to something. Everything that you do just amounts to something. I do have to say, when I went to work with Rich during Hurricane Sandy, that is when I learned the most about where we live, our community, the environment, the people, the businesses. And that to me, But the rest of my life, I'm thankful that I had the opportunity to be there at that time.
Talk about what you saw and the impact, what was going on in the community at that time. Kind of take us back to
so, the storm happened. It was one of those overnight things, and you could wake up in the morning thinking everything is fine. And then when you stepped outside, it was madness and mayhem. There were boats in the middle of the roads. There were houses that were missing the backs of them. People lost everything. And the sad part about it is a lot of people, they were so stressed out and so shocked. They almost didn't know how to start rebuilding. So we came up with a lot of good programs to help them just get back on their feet. The United Way was very impactful, housing people and helping people get food. But people lost everything. Like every sock they ever owned was gone, and they had families they had to take care of. Insurance companies, they take a while. It's a necessary evil, but, those things take a while. So it was pretty devastating. We were knocking on people's doors, finding people that were still living in their house that, we were boots on the ground.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too, is like, while that was going on, us in these positions, like at the time I was the CEO and director of the Suffolk County Industrial Development Agency.
Yep.
And while my house had no power and I have, little children at home, and it's like, okay, well, now I got to go and figure out how we have to get these businesses back up and running.
Yes.
What support can we provide? What could we do? Well, kind of like you have to take your own situation. It's like, okay, that has to be, and then kind of move forward. A lot of people don't realize how much you have to kind of roll up your sleeves and sacrifice during that time too.
Right, and you just have to do it. You just have to do it. I tell people now, though, keep everything that is important to you in your life in a binder. It may sound very analog and old-fashioned, but if anything ever happened, you could pick up that binder. At least you know where your insurance policies are, your birth certificates, because you need all of those documents even to file a claim or to get, anywhere. So
it's a great idea.
It is. It's, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So town clerk, people hear the word town clerk. What exactly, just let us know kind of what you do on a day-to-day basis and what the town clerk's office does.
We actually do a lot more than people realize. I think they hear town clerk and they think that we're just all about the paperwork, but a lot of it's the archives and all the town records and the history of the town records, all your vital records, birth, death, marriage. We're also the licensing agent for plumbers and landscapers. There's just so many facets to what we do. I get to work with Sal quite often with death certificates and interments and all of that. So my office is steadily busy. We never shut down. We were the one office that couldn't shut down during COVID because we did vital records, numerous tasks, and I have a great staff. I do enjoy going to work every day, and every day is something different there. Mm-hmm.
Do a lot of weddings?
We do a lot of weddings, and that's like my favorite part of the job. We could issue anywhere from 1,300 to 2,500, and those are actual numbers, marriage licenses a year.
Wow. That
doesn't mean we marry all of those people, but, we interact with that many brides and grooms a year. People come in, they're so excited to get married. It's, so we try to offer them various services, and we do weddings in a lot of languages. And that's not just for the bride and groom, because generally they know what they're there for and they're the ones getting the paperwork. But if you have your family flying in from Italy or Poland, you want them to understand your culture and the ceremony. So we can do weddings in Ukraine, Turkish, Creole, Spanish, American Sign. So everybody that comes to your wedding is going to understand what's happening.
Wow.
And it's a part of your culture of getting married here. Yep.
That's great. I never knew that your town clerk's office could do that. I'm not sure they all can.
Come on in for a marriage license and tell us how you want it to go. Yeah. We also do, every once in a while, we'll throw together like a big wedding marathon, which is always fun. We're doing Halloween weddings. We try to make it fun for people.
That's interesting, a Halloween wedding.
Halloween weddings, yeah.
Very nice.
So we try to, and once a year I do a big vow renewal for people that have been married for a while. that just want to say I do again, or I still love you kind of thing. Yeah.
So how do like the destination weddings or things, it's a big trend. How do they have to come to you?
Yes, people don't know that a destination wedding is not necessarily a legal wedding. It's sometimes you're doing it at a hotel and you've got a wedding planner putting it together if it's not a government certificate.
What about Elvis in Las Vegas?
Elvis in Las Vegas, those are the most contested weddings. So people come back to us and say, we got married in Vegas, we want to make sure it's legal, and we'll just get them remarried. But yeah, if you get a license in New York State, you have to get married in New York State.
So the destination wedding, if you get married, on an island, you have to get license from you, ultimately.
Yeah, well, a license and a ceremony from us, unless you're getting married, like by the government there. Say you go to Italy and you go to, the local municipality and you get your marriage license and you get married there. But it has to be a government certificate. But destination weddings, sometimes those are like big dreamy plans, which I think are fantastic. But, to make it legal, it's a legally binding contract.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's leave it at that, and we'll talk to Tia a little bit. So, Tia, thanks so much for joining us today. You have an amazing organization. You're the founder and executive director of the Butterfly Effect Project. Your organization started back in 2014 with 8 girls that came from Riverhead in the Flanders area. Now you have more than 30 chapters, grown to over 700 girls and boys from Riverhead, Flanders, Calverton, Mastic, Shirley, Bellport, West Hampton, Peconic, Patchogue, and West Islip. And really the mission statement rooted in, creating safe spaces for our children to dream and succeed, empowering young girls by giving them the tools to achieve emotionally stable and self-confident futures in hopes of bringing forth a generation of women who are strong, independent, and knowledgeable. Needed today more than ever. Our children are just, bombarded every single day on a social media cycle and every angle that they have to kind of live up to certain expectations for. So tell us a little bit more from your perspective and your words about your organization and what you're focused on.
Well, first, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. The Butterfly Effect Project, to me, is so many things. It's literally a family. So if you think about, your own personal families, and you have these very distinct roles in your household that help shape and mold you into the person that you're going to be, like with your morals and your values. That's essentially what the program is. So we started the program, like you said, in 2014. And the goal really was what would happen if we took a numerous amount of girls and put them in a space that came from different zip codes and took away any label or any preconceived notion that we had of them based on what we assumed or any of our personal biases. Like, what would happen to them? We allowed them to have these same lavish dreams that everyone else could or may possibly have access to. And what we realized really quickly was by doing that, you've seen these girls that came from areas that were poverty stricken, maybe single families, maybe very shy youth come out and start laughing and joking. And we've seen something that, for me, I didn't see it growing up, which was interaction. Like when you've seen people that came from this side of the road to that side of the road actually interacting with each other, having a good time. And we realized really quickly, wow, this is something that could be beneficial if we made it, how do we make this thing grow? How do we keep it going? And I realized that as smart as I thought I was, I'm not that smart. So I went to the smart people in the room, the kids. They know exactly who they are. They know what they want. They know what they need. They know what they lack. And they share. And they told us simply, we want a space where I don't have to hear about what my mom did or my brother did. I want a space where the first question is not, are you a single family household? Do you have anyone in your family incarcerated? So many things that a lot of organizations and our school districts ask our children are embarrassing. And what happens, unfortunately, even though we're collecting this data because we want to ensure that we get the best assistance for the children, sometimes the children are filling out the data. So now we're labeling them and we're teaching them the labels that we have. And then we'll use these code words like at-risk youth. And I don't think that there's no such thing as an at-risk youth or a troubled youth. I think that I always tell people that people have bad moments in their life. And it's really important for, as adults, that we're able to correct the bad moments by giving them positive opportunities. So that way they can make better choices. So I guess in a nutshell, the Butterfly Effect Project is an opportunity for each individual to make choices for their future and to really broaden their horizons by putting people in place and metrics in place to allow them to see a different way, a different side of the coin, per se.
What ages?
From 5-year-old to 18-year-old is you're allowed to be in the actual program itself. Then if you go to college or if you take any type of higher education, we have a retention program, which from 18 to 21.
And so how does somebody have to apply for it? Does it typically come from the school? Is it parents, or is it how does a child how does a girl end up in the program?
So we have 3 different access points. So we are partnering with multiple schools, districts on the East End. So you can go in through the school district. If you go through the school, like social workers and principals and teachers will kind of find you. We're looking, and I always tell people, this is not like a black girl program, a poor girl program. This is a youth program. We service girls, obviously, by the majority, because that was our mission. But we do have a few boys in the program, which is called Dragonflies. You can also come in through, we have open enrollment for a 30-day period where it's completely open enrollment and you can sign up to come to our nighttime chapters. And then we have our arts program, which is community-based, which is for parents that really can't commit to the whole program, but maybe they are really interested in gardening. So they want to be in our garden program. So they'll come out to just the gardening part of the organization.
That's fantastic. And talk about a little about what some of the programs, what's the child's experience, look like?
I'm smiling because I just answered that question today. And so what you can expect if your child's in the Butterfly Effect Project is 2 meetings a month. The meetings are New York State benchmark. We have a curriculum that we created to make sure that our youth in the program are actually learning things. So when I say learning things, I'm talking about what our grandparents taught us. So I want you to know how to sew. I want you to know how to cook. I want you to know how to measure. And we take
basic good life skills.
Yes, and we partner with our natural activities, daily living, with actual education. So if you can't make a cupcake, if I say to you, let's make a cupcake, and I say, but I need 3 cupcakes, not 4 cupcakes. You have to do the math to cut that recipe in half. So by us having this activity of daily living and blending with education, we're teaching the kids how math is still very much essential, even though AI may tell you that it's not. So they're learning about healthy relationships, confidence building, community outreach, and just a safe environment. They also have opportunities to a plethora of things, from swimming lessons, horseback riding, hair care, dance opportunities. We kind of try really hard to make sure that wherever a parent may think that they want their child to be involved in, that we can kind of get it on our roster and create a chapter for that child. So from book clubs to tutoring services, what the children think of is kind of what we put out there for them. And the interesting thing is we have over 700 plus youth, because the kids are like, hey, Miss Tia, I really like gardening, but I don't have access to a garden because I live in an apartment complex. Now our garden club is over 40 plus, youth and over 30, children, and it's our intergenerational garden, and they built it from the ground up. It's absolutely incredible. And now that garden club now harvests food to give to local food pantries and to the families. So it keeps this building over. We have a heritage hive where we have a young man who literally loves learning about Ancestry.com. So he does free, he kind of digs up on your family and does his own little reveal. And this is all coming from a 17-year-old boy and his staff of 2 twin sisters who are 15. And it's really cool that they're actually having these really powerful, courageous conversations with adults in the community. So it's teaching them a lot about, just talking and eye contact and putting your cell phone down. Those are things that the Butterfly Effect Project offers. And I think those small things that may be meaningless to some make a huge impact in others.
Wow, that is fantastic. And talk about, funding. Is it, is it grant funding? Do you accept donations from the public? Because I know that Sal, speaks so highly of you, and, the Mangano family loves the work that you're doing. If I'm interested in making a donation, can I do that? Talk a little bit about the funding.
Yes. So we are, as a nonprofit, funding is always that cursor that kind of dingles over your head. So we do grant fundings where, we write obviously grants. We also try to get county funding. We foundation funding, individual funding, in-kind donations, and I can say we're one of those organizations that get a lot of different type of fundings because how of a niche that we are. So we're really lucky. I remember one year, Sal's family donated a Christmas party. A whole Christmas party completely paid for our staff, and it was really cool. And we actually invited like families and kids to come out. So to donate or any type, I always say I don't like the word donate anymore. I always say to create a ripple effect in the organization. You can go to our website at bepgirls.org. You can give us a call. Our telephone number is 631-591-0759. And like we try our best to make ourselves accessible. And funding, like I said, is important to us, but also just getting involved. So like volunteering, giving back, leaning your expertise to ours, and coming in, having an empowering session with the girls and guys about what you do, how you get involved, how do you get to your next level. A lot of kids want to be like firemen and teachers and lawyers, but then they don't realize that there's a town clerk, or as I'm sitting here waiting for this to end so I can like say to Sal, like, hey, what about those kids that's into that field of like morticianers and things of that nature? Because we have a young lady who like loves dissecting, and she's very much into it, and it's like, why? But like, why not? So I think these are things that I'm learning as I'm working with the youth, and I feel like a donation to me or a ripple effect really is used like making an investment into someone's future and to their family. And
what I love about what you're doing is direct impact, grassroots level. Your donation to your organization, to the Butterfly Effect Project, goes such a long way. Love all of our nonprofits. It's not a big national, global nonprofit with $1 billion budget. Every dollar that's donated to you really goes a long way and goes to a local child that could help provide a better future for them. So that is just, an amazing impact. So just everybody remember that, when you're making your donations, consider this.
Yes, I always tell people that there's a lot of incredible causes out there, but what makes, for me, Butterfly stand out is you are not just helping a child, you're helping yours, because your child is going to run into one of these youth or one of these young men, and they may not sit at the same lunch table with them. How do you want them to treat your child? And sometimes when you have a bad day, it just kind of keeps rolling. And what we're teaching kids is how it's okay not to be okay, but what do you do with that? And so when you give to the Butterfly Effect Project, you're not just giving to a child or someone's child. You're making sure that your child and your children do not experience what we have to experience, and you're bringing up a whole community, most likely yours.
Yeah, that's so true. And I know the Mangano Family Foundation has been up to a lot recently. So Sal was the Grand Marshal of the Long Island Columbus Day Parade.
One of them.
One of them. Okay, one of them. He's very humble, as we like to say. One of the Grand Marshals, and that was a great event.
It was a phenomenal event. Yes.
I know our town clerk was. Was
super
there.
Fun day.
Yes, it was.
It was so lively and fun, and
Great that it changed locations to Deer Park this year. It was a great change from Huntington.
Yeah, and your family has owned and operated Mangano Family Funeral Home in Deer Park for a lot of years now, right?
Yes, we originally started in Brooklyn in 1911, and moved out to Deer Park in the 1960s, and then we purchased another funeral home in Middle Island and also in Riverhead, and so we're basically been in Deer Park community since the early 60s.
Wow. Yes. Yeah, and when during the parade, I just saw somebody walk past our booth here waving to Sal. So Sal is, everybody it was a big hit that day. So I'm glad you were able to do it.
Thank you.
You were also very generous to support the parade organizers, which was the New York State Grand Lodge of the Sons and Daughters of Italy, which they also do a tremendous amount for the community. So I know they were very appreciative of your support. I know the Family Florist, which your family also owns in Deer Park, teamed up with the funeral home to do a shredding event.
Yes, we did. Just in the beginning of October. We had over 225 people come through the parking lot that day to shred documents that they wanted to get rid of and they just didn't want to throw out. We filled almost the whole truck up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was great. Wow. Great event.
And then I know did some stuff at the VA hospital, right? I think
that was for Easter time. Yes, we did some things at the VA. Some flowers for Veterans Day. Excuse me. Yes.
Yeah.
Veterans Day. Yes.
Yeah, you got a lot going on, which is great. And I know back to our town clerk.
Yes.
Talk about a little bit about the work that you do in Alzheimer's and that field. I know you have a park that you put together, or a respite park. Talk a little bit about how that came about.
So I guess it's about 9 or 10 years ago. Chuck Baschillo had come to town hall. He used to be one of our senators in my district. He became the CEO of the Alzheimer's Foundation, and he wanted to know just roundabout questions. What do you think people need? We found out that 60,000 Long Islanders suffer with dementia-related and or Alzheimer's disease. That's a lot, because therefore it affects the families, it affects, an entire household. So one of the ideas that he had come up with, let's do something for the caretakers. So we put in the very first respite care relief park, and that just got the ball rolling. Now there are 3 of them on Long Island. He's opened them all over the place. They do Educating America. Alzheimer's and dementia is not sexy to talk about, but I do believe the Alzheimer's Foundation is bringing an awareness that people can talk about it, that there is help, that they can, they're not alone in their plight to take care of a family member, a sibling, an aunt, an uncle, and the amount of research that they do. But one of my favorite things is they just opened up the Barbara Rabinowitz Health and Education and Resource Center in North Amityville, right on Schlegel Boulevard. They do free programs, free memory screenings, free consultations. They have support groups, they're really in it, and they're in our community. Because nobody knew where to go before. But once we put that park piece in with the phone number, their phone's been ringing off the hook. So it's just something that's very near and dear to my heart, because it doesn't just affect, a certain amount of people. We're talking 60,000. That's Long Island alone. That's a big number.
And on the caretaker side, it's so demanding, and at the end of the long day of caring for your loved one, you forget to care about yourself.
Yes.
Take care of yourself.
Yep, and that's what the Respite Care Relief Park is for. We interchange the signs, for things for them to know and do, and give them information there. But they can also just go sit there and listen to their favorite music, or, sometimes they'll call. I just met a gentleman who came in and he said, "How do I get involved with this park?" So I sat with him for a while and got him hooked up with the Alzheimer's Foundation, because he lost his wife. So they have bereavement groups, and he said that his life was unimaginable for so long. So it's something that affects almost every single Long Islander.
And Tia, any programs or events or anything you want to kind of leave us with, as some final thoughts?
Yeah, so we have our Spooktacular event that's coming up on October 31st from 4:30 to 6:30. It's going to be held at our new headquarters at 1146 Main Road in Riverhead. And essentially it's 2 hours of getting these kids sugared up, having a blast with spooky tables, getting to meet different vendors, but it's a completely free event. We also have our Adopt a Butterfly or Dragonfly campaign launching next week, where an individual can have an opportunity to adopt a child or 2 for Christmas, and pick up their things and put a smile on someone's face. And then we have our Thanksgiving drive happening, where our goal is to get about 200 baskets, and we have a massive Thanksgiving dinner held somewhere. And I said somewhere, because we're always looking for this perfect spot. And we bring all our families out to have a family-style dinner. And then after, they're able to kind of shop with all the donations that we receive, to kind of personally pick out what they need, as opposed to someone saying, this is what you get. So we really try to make everything community-oriented and make sure that everyone leaves feeling empowered and feeling like they got lifted up and not given a hand up,
Yep.
So those are great events.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very, very nice.
And you give them the baskets, and now the kids know how to cook, because you're teaching them.
Yes,
I love that.
I will tell you this. On Thanksgiving, I do not eat turkey. I spend Tuesday for Thanksgiving in stores lifting turkeys, purchasing turkeys, moving turkeys. Just give me a piece of fried chicken or brisket, and I'm okay.
All right. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Mangano Family Foundation, Doing Good radio show with Sal Mangano. Thank you for everything that you do for the local community.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Tia, Gerry, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for joining us.
I look forward to seeing you again next time.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.